I'm Don MacGregor, yeah, and I live out in Pembrokeshire in St David's, and I've been a church in Wales vicar out there for many years. Recently retired, yes. But I was a science teacher before becoming an Anglican priest, and I longed to see the day when there would be scientific theories that actually tied together science and spirituality. But I doubted it would ever happen and be accepted. But we're now at the beginning of that process, and this new story is emerging. A story of the acceptance that science and spirituality are not opposing worldviews, but are actually two sides of the same coin. To me, that's exciting, fantastic. Well, in fact, not fantastic, it's totally believable. Jude is going to present us, when she gets here, with the viewpoint that the universe is in fact a cosmic hologram, which is the title of her recent book. Intricately interconnected in a series of kind of nested hierarchies of energy, repeating patterns with the same essence of information flowing through them all. Gradually, there's a new way of seeing that this physical plane in which we dwell and it's moving us from the materialistic viewpoint, which says that matter is all there is, and that consciousness kind of pops out of the brain when the brain is developed enough. The new science story says that consciousness, or mind, has to exist before matter. If anybody wants to look at it further, that's a very good book, Mind Before Matter. Now, people like physics professor Amit Goswami in the States have been saying for years that consciousness is the ground of being, from which everything materializes at the quantum level, and that there's only one universal consciousness. Many familiar names have said the same thing. Familiar names in the scientific world. I'm covering a little bit of the science, but Jude's going to go much further later. But Erwin Schrödinger, who you might have heard of, quantum physicist, Nobel Prize award-winning quantum physicist, says consciousness cannot be accounted for in physical terms, for consciousness is absolutely fundamental. It cannot be accounted for in terms of anything else. Sir Arthur Eddington, a founding father of the new physics, said the stuff of the universe is mind stuff. And Eric Jansch, who's an astrophysicist, he said, God is not the creator, but the mind of the universe. Physicist and mathematician Sir Roger Penrose says, my position on consciousness demands a major revolution in physics. I've come to believe that there is something very fundamental missing from current science. Our understanding at this time is not adequate, and we're going to have to move to new regions of science. Basically, scientists can't really get a hold on consciousness. It's as if it exists outside the known laws of the universe and reality as we know it, and maybe it's going to be the next scientific breakthrough that starts to join up those dots. And I think this is what Jude is on the edge of. Physicists like John Bell and Alain Aspect, famous names in the physics world, they've established that the universe, at its most basic level, is non-local. It's a kind of slightly scientific term. But they're saying that information doesn't travel from A to B because it doesn't need to travel anywhere. It exists everywhere. It's kind of weird. This presents us, though, with a view of a kind of participatory universe in which everything is interconnected, everything's interdependent. A seamless whole of mind stuff, i.e. consciousness. In her book, Jude puts it like this. We are each individuated microcosms of the holographic intelligence of our universe, and ultimately of the infinite and eternal mind of the cosmos. Now, Buddhism uses a similar image to describe the interconnectedness of all phenomena. It's called Indra's net. And the story goes that when Indra fashioned the world, he made it as a web. And at every knot in the web, a pearl is tied. And everything that exists or has ever existed, every idea that can be thought about, every piece of true information is a pearl in Indra's net. Every pearl is tied to every other pearl by virtue of the web on which they hang, and on the surface of every pearl is the reflection of every other jewel on the net. So everything that exists in Indra's net implies that all else exists. And this is kind of the new story of science in Buddhism, that we're all part of the one consciousness which holds everything in being, permeates everything, and is the one life in which we live and move and have our being, to quote St. Paul. We are all one. We're not just with the rest of humanity, but with the whole of the biosphere and actually the whole of the universe. To quote Jude again, shame she's not here, I'm quoting her well here. Consciousness isn't just something we have, it's what we and the whole world are. Consciousness isn't just something we have, it's what we and the whole world are. And this is the nub of it, this is the crux of it. And this is what mystics and religious have been saying for millennia in their own language and their own understanding. Their understanding is based on human experience, something possible for all humanity. Not everyone's had that particular human experience, but for those who have, it's totally life-changing. What is it? It's when we're taken up in feeling and knowing of such awe and wonder that we know that we are one with everything and that we are held in love. It's the mystical experience that's been common to various people down through the ages. Experience of being at one with the divine, or unity awareness, you could call it, or oneness. It is a normal human experience, something possible for anyone to have, given the right conditions, the right state of mind, and so on. But then those human experiences are interpreted in the understanding of the time and the culture and the context of that person who's experienced it. So the articulation of those experiences, how people explain them to others, takes on the clothing of the religious and the moral system of the time. The problem is we can mistake the clothing for the actual inner human experience, which leads us to imagine differences where actually none exist. It becomes the problem of language and people using language in different ways.